non-life-threatening injuries. One of the clunkiest, coldest phrases we use on the TV news. Like telling viewers, move along, nothing to see here. So what you don't always see is what happens next. What we'll see tonight. We'll meet the man who single-handedly created a new swing state this election season. New early voting numbers suggest a tsunami of sorts. And don't try to get this trucker to honk. The semi's rolling down I-25 with no one at the wheel. For real. And it's next. One of the most fair criticisms of the media is the term popularized by conservative radio show host Rush Limbaugh. Calls us the drive-by media. In and out for a story, never to return or to really appreciate the impact. Not unlike the hit-and-run driver who sped into and out of Marilyn Eanes' life, and then the media who sped into and out of her life. This is what happens when we circle back to see what really happened.
But this morning, boy, it is warm, dry, gorgeous.
It was October 13th. It was a gorgeous October morning. I was walking across the street, and that's the last thing I remember.
Denver police are investigating a hit-and-run accident.
This is the first time you've ever been back here?
Yes.
Why'd you come back here today?
I need to put some closure. I'm having flashbacks, terribly bad.
Police tell us the woman was on her way to work.
The car hit me with such impact that it threw me from over in the intersection to the end of this white line.
So basically, right about where we're standing.
Yeah. The next thing I remember is hearing someone asking if I was alive. And then another lady came to me, identified herself as an ER nurse, told me her name and asked me mine, and kept me talking.
She's now in the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries.
I think we tend to forget about what goes on after those non-life-threatening injuries. What's the last year been like for you?
Well, I spent 22 weeks in a wheelchair. I had to retire from my job. I wasn't going to be administratively terminated because my family medical leave ran out.
What about emotionally?
I continue to have these flashbacks.
Police don't have any information at this point on a suspect.
We still don't know who that was.
No.
What do you say to that person who didn't have the guts to turn around?
They're a coward. They left me laying there to die. They didn't care enough about a human being. But that nurse, whoever she is, thank you. I would love to meet her and give her a hug and tell her thank you.
Perhaps that nurse shared the story with you. If you think you have any idea who that nurse is, please shoot us an email next@9news.com. We'll try to get them together. If someone offers you a great deal on a Super Bowl 50 ring, be aware it probably belongs to DeMarcus Ware. Thieves stole it from his house during the Broncos game last night. At least Ware was positive about it. Positive the police are going to catch these fools. He tweeted, "After a great win, came home to find my house was robbed. Never about the material things for me, but my safety. Thank God for hidden cameras." And boy, the photos of the suspects are pretty clear. Denver Crime Stoppers released the images this afternoon. Something tells me that if you call with the right tip, you might be able to add a DeMarcus Ware autograph to your cash reward. It's very clear that a Democrat wave election is in the making. Colorado Democrats have never had an early voting lead this large with 2 weeks to go. Before you yell media bias at your TV, that analysis was word for word from a Republican political strategy and polling group out of Louisville. Even Magellan Strategies is sounding the alarm that Colorado Republicans are in deep trouble this year. The number of early voting ballots returned more than doubled from yesterday's count to this morning's, so likely weekend returns. And Democrats hold a significant advantage. 41% of the ballots returned are from registered Dems, 33% from registered Republicans. Now, certainly some of those are crossover votes. History shows the vast majority are not. And with the sheer number of ballots returned, Magellan Strategies, the Republican group, notes the Democrats have tripled their lead in ballots between yesterday's count and today's. Next, viewers are not only ridiculously good-looking, they're also observant. Adrienne McKinnon observed what looks like conflicting instructions on her Douglas County ballot. The graphic shows it being filled out with a pencil, like a test you take in grade school. Do not fill out your ballot using a pencil. And it says it there on the ballot, near the image of the pencil. you got to use a pen. Doco clerk Merlin Klotz told us, yep, this image may resemble a traditional pencil. Whoop. But he said voters are following directions and using black or blue pen. Republican Congressman Mike Coffman just can't shake Donald Trump. He denounced him, says he won't vote for him, but the airwaves are plastered with Democrats' ads trying to convince you that Coffman and Trump are tight. Here's politics guy Brandon Ritterman with the truth test.
Coffman now says he won't vote for Trump, can't support him for president. But this ad from National Democrats puts the two on screen together.
Donald Trump and Congressman Coffman would punish women.
This is misleading. The ad is all about abortion, and it's true that both men on screen want to curb abortion by changing the law. But Donald Trump is the only one who's actually embraced the idea that women who get abortions ought to be punished.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion?
The answer is that there has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah, there has to be some form.
Trump later walked this back, saying doctors should be punished if abortion is outlawed, not the women who get abortions. The point is, Coffman has never expressed the view that women should be punished for getting abortions, and that's what the ad is trying to make you believe. He has taken votes to curb abortion and has been on record against abortion being legal. Pro-choice advocates would argue that is punishment, but this ad went beyond whether abortion ought to be legal. It goes on to attack Coffman with a line we've heard before.
And Coffman tried to redefine rape to mean only forcible rape. In Coffman's bill, victims who were drugged, even minors, victims of statutory rape, would not be considered rape victims.
This needs context. First of all, we're not talking about changing the definition of the crime rape. Coffman co-sponsored a bill in the House to ban federal funds from paying for abortions with some exceptions. And it is true, the first draft of that bill made forcible rape one of those exceptions, but not other kinds of rape. In committee, opponents pointed out that wording wouldn't cover all kinds of rape, and so the committee changed the wording to simply make an exception for rape, full stop. Coffman wasn't on that committee. He voted for the bill after the language was changed. It is fair to point out that Coffman put his name on a bill that tried to draw a line between forcible rape and other kinds, but that wasn't the bill's main goal, and Coffman voted for the bill without that language. Bottom line, Coffman is a pro-life candidate. He has a record that is fair game, but this ad has to stretch beyond that record to portray Coffman as embracing some of Trump's most extreme comments on the subject. With your truth test, I'm Brandon Ritterman.
I say Evan McMullin. You say who? He could become the first third-party candidate for president to win a state since George Wallace back in 1968. Evan McMullin is an unaffiliated conservative, and he's running neck and neck in Utah with Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. Tonight, he's come to campaign in Colorado, right after stopping to talk with Next. Did you single-handedly create a swing state in Utah?
Oh, I don't know about that. I think Donald Trump created a swing state in Utah when he abandoned conservative principles, or when the party abandoned conservative principles by nominating him. People talk about Utah as being a red state or a Republican state, but like much of the Mountain West, I would rather call it a principled conservative state. These are people who are committed to conservative principles, namely that all people are created equal and that all should have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that's why I think you saw Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton rejected so strongly by most Mountain West states by large margins.
I couldn't personally find a poll in Colorado where pollsters specifically asked voters about McMullin. Other polls around 2%. In a bit, we'll talk honestly with McMullin about the impact that he hopes to have on this race and the Republican Party. It's a sign, and a good one, too. Perhaps this is what we should try to do to reboot political civility in America. It's a sign that Linda Harris found, reading, "Has anyone tried just turning the country off and then back on again?" It works like half the time. It's what our IT guys say all the time. Signs up at Big Sid's Bottles in Glenwood Springs. If you see a sign that makes you laugh or think or get angry, send it to us next at 9news.com or get our attention with the hashtag #HeyNext. A 120-mile BWERRUN. More than 50,000 beer cans cross Colorado. Only one thing missing, a driver at the wheel. If you missed fall colors this year, or any of the last 5 years, one guy made a monster montage. And the third-party conservative with a chance to win Utah is in Colorado with a blunt message for our state's flip-flopping Republican leaders.
I don't think that's real leadership.
Our conversation with a candidate who admits he's not going to win. How refreshing. Next. Sometimes we're basic here on Next. So basic we get lost in pictures of fall foliage in Colorado. But you deserve more than a snapshot or two. So how about 5 fall seasons worth of leaf peeping packed into one man's opus? Jason Hatfield's ode to all things fall in Colorado. This is a time lapse for the ages. Roll a little bit.
Wow, as if we needed another reason to remember how grateful we are to live in this beautiful state. I'm meteorologist Kathy Sabin. Finally, the cloud cover moving away from the city tonight. That storm that created the cloud cover didn't bring much of a cool down. Denver's high above average in the low 70s. Little rain and snow up high around 10,000 feet. This shot coming in out of Steamboat. And you may be wondering, when is your favorite resort going to open? Well, just a few weeks away, early November is when we start to see those resorts open almost once a week. In the high country, the snow winding down. Good travel weather tonight and tomorrow. In between storm systems, that means fair skies overnight, and the diminishing rain and snow shower activity means a chilly night in the high country with lows in the 30s. Lower elevations, we're on our way to a sunny day tomorrow and another warming trend that'll get us into record territory. 44 tonight with light winds. Tomorrow, lots of sunshine, highs above average again. The average is 62 or 75 tomorrow, pushing 80 degrees for Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Beautiful weather conditions, but everybody talking about Halloween. Not looking scary at all. Matter of fact, should be mild and dry with temperatures in the mid-50s when the little ghosts and goblins head out around the area. And hey, if you think this weather's for the birds, it's perfect for picking and carving that special pumpkin in your life.
Kathy, thanks. We return to our conversation with unaffiliated presidential candidate Evan McMullen, who has a real shot to win the state of Utah. He's campaigning in Colorado tonight, and he admits he is not going to win. He wants to pick off enough states to deny Trump and Clinton an electoral college majority, sending the race to the House of Representatives. But that doesn't look likely either. So now he's out to make a statement.
What it means is if we're able to win a state or just perform very well in a number of states or in some states in a region, it sends a message to Washington, it sends a message to the Republican Party that there are people who will still stand on principle. We will not go along with the Republicans if they're going to become a populist, white nationalist or white supremacist party. Principled constitutional conservatives are just not going to go along with that. And that's the message.
Between the two major party candidates, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, which of them strikes you as the more morally sound choice?
Oh, well, look, you're asking me to make a lesser of two evils decision, and I'm calling on Americans to do better than that. We need better leaders in this country. We've gotten ourselves in this rut of believing that these are the kinds of decisions we have to make, especially with our elected leaders and the votes we make. You know, I'm not going to answer that question because I think it's the wrong question, and it's a fair question when I'm asked a lot. But we need to start proactively searching for leaders who are honest and wise and promoting them into office rather than passively waiting for the two major parties to give us what they give us, because it's just not working.
What's your opinion of elected Republicans like Colorado Congressman Mike Coffman, who won't tell voters who they're going to vote for president?
Well, I think that's unfortunate, and I don't think that's real leadership. Leadership is not just saying what you're against, but it's saying what you're for and then fighting for it. This country is in a leadership crisis, I believe. I think Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump personify that. But also these leaders who won't say what they're for and won't fight for a positive path forward for the country, I believe they're part of it too. They put party ahead of the country and ahead of the American people's interests. They put power over principle. And we just can't have that in our leaders.
Thank you so much for your time. Thanks for stopping in Denver.
Thank you.
Smoking hasn't been allowed on airplanes since the 1980s, so why are there still no smoking signs above each seat? It's our next question. And no, you're not smoking something. That truck on I-25 really doesn't have a driver. Our next question comes from the boss, so we moved it right to the top of the stack. 9 News General Manager Steve Carter asks, why do airlines still include the international symbol for no smoking on new airplanes? Former NTSB investigator Greg Feith tells us that while smoking has been banned on flights since 1988, many planes still in service were built before then. Changing anything on an airplane involves a lot of red tape, so some carriers may have left the no smoking signs on newer planes just to avoid the hassle. Some passengers clearly need the reminder. Since 2000, nearly 700 people have been prosecuted for smoking on a plane. Feith told us that some newer generation planes are replacing the no smoking signs with signs that say, please turn off electronic devices. So there you have it, boss. The reason why no smoking signs are still on airplanes. A beer truck made a recent run from Fort Collins down to Colorado Springs. Noteworthy not for the route right down I-25, nor the beer, honestly. It was Budweiser. It was the driver that caught our eye. He was not at the wheel. He was sitting back in the sleeper berth as the self-driving truck made the first autonomous commercial shipment. CDOT's director was in that overnight convoy down I-25, which was street legal and was not publicized ahead of time.
It was completely flawless. It was one of the more exciting and boring things that I've ever done, because I was in the 5th vehicle behind the truck, and it's just like watching any other semi go down the road, except this one stayed right in the middle of this lane the whole way down. You're not going to see a lot of this, going on. This was a one-time test, so you're not going to see suddenly driverless vehicles with literally no drivers in the seat, flooding our roadways and flooding our 911 centers with worries about drivers in distress. We ran this truck at 1 o'clock in the morning, right? But that's the time that most people are the most sleepy, right? But if we can shift a lot of our freight onto our highways between 9 p.m. and 5 a.m. and have computers drive and drivers be in the vehicle but be, resting or sleeping potentially as the technology is perfected, we can shift a lot of our demand off of our peak times and put trucks on the roads when there is no lot of demand. In the future, this is going to be the way forward. And if we can reduce 35,000 deaths a year, which we believe this technology will help us do, then this is the path that we want to be on.
That's trippy, though, isn't it, when you pass the truck? Most Colorado thing we saw today, actually 2 Colorado things rolled into one. Next. The most Colorado thing we saw today. Coloradans love to bike, love to hike. Carl Marvin and his buddy combined the two, hauled a bike up Boulder Canyon to get this shot here, kind of biked up a cliff, sort of. He says this is not photoshopped. He recently reposted this 3-year-old photo on Instagram, gave it some new life, and made it the most Colorado thing we saw today. Your feedback now. Mona Backey writes, thought it was illegal to give out voting results until the polls close. The percentage of Democrats versus Republicans makes it seem like you're trying to discourage Republicans from voting. What we're showing each night, Mona, are the numbers of Democrat ballots returned and Republican ballots returned. Not how those folks voted. That's still secret until the polls close. And we're not trying to discourage Democrat or Republican turnout, just like we weren't trying to discourage the other side when Republicans were leading in 2008, 2012, and 2014. We'll see you next time.